The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
We've been talking to them for about 9 months, I guess, and they participated in our last financing and in December. So they already have shown good support, from an equity standpoint. But this is, much more than that, because what we have always said, and it's part of our business model, is that we want to try and avoid equity financing as much as we can in order to preserve shareholder value.
All right, welcome back inside our Proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Robertarcher. He is the CEO of Pinnacle Silver and Gold. And Bob, good to see you again. How are you?
You too, Steve. Doing well, thanks. You too, I hope.
Yeah, doing very well. Thanks very much. Company out with significant news today that you've got someone in place to help you with financing your El Potrero project. And so it's Auramet is the name of the company. So let's take me into the decision making behind this and what this means.
Well, I mean, Auramet, firstly, is a significant metal trader, a global metal trader. I mean, they're a large company. They focus mostly on gold, and I've dealt with them in the past with Great Panther, both on an offtake arrangement and financing and so on. So I've known the folks there for about 20 years, and so that relationship has allowed us to sort of build and bring them into the port or the Potrero story, if you like. And this has been coming. We've been talking to them for about 9 months, I guess, and they participated in our last financing and in December. So they already have shown good support, from an equity standpoint. But this is, much more than that, because what we have always said, and it's part of our business model, is that we want to try and avoid equity financing as much as we can in order to preserve shareholder value. And we wanted to finance the development of Potrero through some kind of an offtake arrangement and non-equity financing. And so partnering with Auramet on this allows us to do exactly that. So they will provide up to $5 million US, which is roughly the amount that we need to actually get into production. It's not a huge amount for this project, because there's an older plant already there that just needs to be refurbished. We can extend the power line 3.5 kilometers and things like that. So it's not a project that requires a huge amount of startup capital. But having said that, we'd rather do it in this fashion and keep dilution to a minimum.
And I would imagine that it puts it into overdrive now. You've got the financing in place now. There's still some more permitting that has to be done, some other, due diligence with this company, things like that. So does this now really accelerate the timeline?
I don't know that it accelerates it necessarily, at least not at this stage. What it does, though, is that it gives us confidence that, as we reach certain milestones, that there won't be any delays at that point. So for example, when we get approval from the Electrical Commission to proceed with extending the power line, that's an estimated cost of about $600,000. So US, so it's about 1 million Canadian, and but knowing that we have access to that funding means that we can just proceed with that immediately, and that there won't be any delays. So it's not like we then have to go to market and try to raise money or find a lender or that sort of thing. So knowing that this money will be there, it just gives us the confidence to keep moving forward. And on the plant side of things, we've done all the metallurgical testing. So we're in the process of just fine tuning the flow sheet right now, determining the various specifications and parameters for the various types of equipment that we'll need to order. And then again, when it comes time to actually placing orders for some of the long lead time items, the larger equipments like the ball mills and crusher and Merrill-Crowe circuit, that we know that we can just go ahead with that, and that the funds will be there to pay for it. So those are the types of milestones that Auramet's going to be looking for as well. As we get to each of those in the progression of the project.
Okay, and just so everyone's up to date, sort of the next order of business over the next few months, what are some of the things that we should be looking out for?
Well, I mean, we're still continuing with the underground delineation drilling that we
Okay.
commenced in May. So
Yeah.
that's ongoing, and that will be through the summer. We are planning on starting a surface drilling program as well in September. So that's something else that's in the planning stages right now. And a lot of the other work is just largely related to permitting at this stage. So some of the baseline work that needs to be done for the water license, and just formalizing agreements with the local community, and getting the environmental permits and permits for extending the power line and things like that. So a lot of that is just kind of it's sort of behind the scenes a little bit from a marketing or a public perception type of thing, but
Yeah.
it's work that needs to be done. It's not going to be a market mover necessarily, but the sort of thing that needs to be done.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. Bob, thank you so much. Great to you. Congratulations on this. Good to talk to you as well. We'll talk soon.
Thanks very much, Steve. Cheers.
All right. There's Robert Archer, the CEO of Pinnacle Silver and Gold.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors, or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.